This episode of the Stickers and Scuffs podcast is presented by our friends at Quick Wick Fire Starter. Quick Wick is the world's best fire starter. All you need when building your campfire is Quick Wick. Light it, and in seconds, you'll get a perfect campfire, and you don't even need to add paper or kindling. Quick Wick uses all natural materials that are made right here in Canada. This product has been used by our very own Graydon Bunn and the entire Bunn family when they camp, and it's been so good that their friends and family use it as well. Don't worry about the wet weather either, because Quick Wick can light even when it's wet. Make sure you get a pack of Quick Wick in your pack for when you're camping and in your survival kit. Visit quickwick.com for where you can purchase it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. We are privileged to have driver of the number 28 and the team principal maybe of BT Racing, the Bone Stock division at Delaware Speedway, Kris Lawrence. I'm so pumped to finally have you on the show. Saw you win the Bone Stock Championship last year. Been watching all season long on Rogers TV London. Haven't been able to see it in person yet. But Kris, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate what you guys do with all the different kinds of racing that you guys talk about and the people you get involved in it. It's word of mouth is huge for the sport.
Well, that's what we want. One thing we have in common, right, Kris, is that we really do want to see racing live. In Canada, racing live in Ontario specifically.
Survive and thrive.
It's tough, right? We know it's a tough deal. So my first question to you, Kris, is how did you get involved in motorsports? Because we've kind of heard from different people, and bone stocks are a completely different animal than, say, people that have grown up, they've done their karting, they've gone to multiple different classes and then made it up to, say, the Pinty series. Well, Bone Stocks isn't the Pinty series, but it's something fun all in its own.
Yeah, it's Bone Stock's got a little bit for everybody. I mean, it's a great entry level class for someone looking to just join racing from a completely green standpoint. It's also a really good spot for guys that, they've run super stocks, hobby cars, late models, you name it, and kind of want to go to a more relaxed atmosphere. It's a lot more kind of beer league of racing, so to speak. It's definitely a lot of fun. And I recommend anybody that gets a chance to try one of these cars. They are not like anything else. They're fun because they're so simple. And there's so little that you can actually do to make them go fast. You're kind of just, it puts a lot on the driver. So it's definitely its own animal.
So how did you get started then, Kris?
So for me, I was really fortunate. My dad, he was racing street stocks at the time, before I was even born. So I kind of grew up around the track, spent a lot of time in the shops and playing with my dinky cars up the top of the hill. And I got involved in the junior racing league. So the junior cast cars at the time, a year after my little brother, Joe, and ran that for a couple of years. And then when my dad passed away, we still had his super stock, which is what they became. And I was really fortunate. The team stuck around. Some sponsors stuck around to support our family. My mom stepped up huge to put me into the car. And I joined that division at like 18 years old, which I at the time I was one of the like young guns in that class. Now it's not really that strange to see some 14 and 15-year-olds in it. But yeah, no, I was really fortunate to run that class and made the most of it with what we had at the time. Great sponsor help, great crew, just good people helping us out. And then over the course of the years, kind of life happened. Everybody went their own ways and sponsors kind of did their deals with their business and stuff kind of fell apart as far as my program went. And then one year we blew up our primary motor and it was $5,000 to replace the motor, or a buddy of mine that I had actually got it into bone stock racing when we were toying around with them. He came to me and said that his mom just bought a new car and her 5-speed Neon was just sitting in the driveway. And it was $500 to cage that. So he gave me the car at the beginning of middle of the year. We threw a cage in it, went out racing with it, had some fun. And then at the end of the year, I said, hey, I gotta give you something for this car. Like, I want to keep it. Like, you got me out on track. I would have just been sitting in the stands if it wasn't for my buddy Matt Langford, and worked a deal out. I kept the car, played around with it for a little while until I started getting my butt whooped by horsepower. Those little Neons only make about 100 horse. So I was watching some of the race for the lead and it kind of bummed me out. So, and then I like building cars. So I built some cars with some crew guys, put some buddies in cars. Tried to promote some powder puff racing, put the wives and girlfriends in cars. That cost me a couple cars, but that's the whole learning curve. It happens. So, and then I just kind of slowly grew it, bigger and bigger every year. And then this last 2 years, I kind of wanted to give people the same opportunity that I had. Cause, there's people that get to an age running carts and junior cars and mini trucks and stuff like that. And they hit this age where they either move up or they move out. And for me, anybody that's already in racing, I will do whatever I can to keep them in it, because you already have the gear, you already have the tools, you already know what it's all about to go to the track every weekend. And I mean, what's better than going to a racetrack? So trying to set up this program to really show people that you can run one of these things out of your driveway or mom and dad's driveway or whatever. And that's kind of how it got to be what it is now. I went a little overboard. I kind of just shy of a dozen cars at one point. So
yeah.
It is what it is.
What? That's it?
Yeah, I know. I still got the Pro Late model that I tried to race, and we had some bad luck. And I'll be honest with you, 2 races in a Pro Late model cost me more than 10 cars in a bone stock class all year. So, yeah, I mean, we still have a great group of people that help us out at the track, and there's some sponsors that have just stuck with me. Which I can't thank them enough. I mean, people don't have to give you money to go racing. So thank you to anybody that supports a racer, because, I mean, we're not making money doing this. So to be able to go out and turn laps is kind of fun.
I think one of the things that's interesting, Kris, is you've mentioned before, and you mentioned this on the Rogers program, that it's like this is a rental program that you run with your race team. Experience level doesn't mean a thing in this division, does it? Do you have to have any sort of racing experience, or do you need to have a test, or how does that process like work?
So it is true entry level. So the funny thing about it is you don't even have to have a driver's license. So so I have a driver that did practice with me last year. And he's going to be in my 4 car. It's Trevor Monahan's son.
Nice.
He did karting, and he came out, did some practice with me in the 2-seater last year, and it just never timed up right. We tried to get him in the seat for a race, and it just didn't happen. But like, I've had people from all across the board. I've had late model drivers, APC drivers. I'm working on trying to get JR Fitzpatrick into the car for championship night. Yeah, so we'll see. I'm heckling him. I know he's busy with he's got a championship run, so hopefully he'll be willing to come out the day before and have a little fun with us. But if not, I mean, I've been able to put some of those guys in the cars, and then one of the renters I've had for the last 3 races, John Schultes. He's a 73-year-old, used to race 40 years ago in hobby cars and all kinds of stuff. And he's been out of the seat for that long and hopped in, did 3 races with us. They've had a blast. They've been great to deal with and have out on track. And we'll put anybody that wants to get in the seat if we can accommodate it.
Well, it's interesting that you say this because Graydon has experience in racing. I don't have a driver's license.
Minimal.
So Graydon, could we get S&S teammates on Delaware next year, eh? Man, that would be kind of fun.
I'll tell you, yeah, it's, as you say, I have experience, but it's pretty minimal. So I'm hoping to pad my resume a little bit before we get on that big stage. But I mean, I love the sound of that program. And Kris, the way you described and touched on Delaware, what it means to you guys and your program personally, just what the ownership group has done to the track and bringing people and filling the seats. It seems fairly like-minded to what your ideology for the racing program, if you will. Just talk about what Delaware means to you and your brother and your family.
So I've grown up there. It'll always have a soft spot in my heart. And I can't give the owners group enough credit. When somebody steps up and brings money to a racetrack, like their investment is not coming back to them right away. And I think they've easily invested $400,000 or $500,000 from what I was hearing numbers wise. So they're
going big picture, right?
They're giving us a facility for the future. They've done repaves. They've upgraded the lights, the scoring, the sound systems. They've done phenomenal work on the top of the hill. Everything that group has put into it. And I don't know their names specifically. I know it's a lot of like corporate owner groups, like JR, like the Arts Group, the Spivaks, the Ramseys. There's a lot of names you just kind of hear. And so I'm not really sure who's all behind it. But everybody that's involved, I really can't thank them enough for that. And I think as racers, when an owners group gives you that kind of a facility and that kind of playground, all you can do is put cars on tracks and fans in the seat. And with having Rogers come on board, they're doing a phenomenal job for really promoting a track that a Friday night deal is tough for everybody to make it to.
Yeah.
So it's great to have that, they can watch from home. I know every night after the races at 12:30, 1 in the morning, I'm sitting on the couch watching the replay. I love the broadcast they do. I like seeing the race from the outside looking in, as well as being down in the pit and playing that part.
And for guys like you who are bringing up to 9 cars, and I mean, and that goes for you and all your competitors and everyone that shows up on a Friday night to have that kind of exposure. I mean,
yeah, that's huge.
It's reaching Muskoka. Like my boys and I are watching the Friday night racing now. We started like when we did our road trip to GP3R.
Yeah, we watched it in Quebec
night. Yeah, like Riley's a friggin' little G-Force junkie, and now we're watching the Rogers telecast of the Delaware races. So I mean, when you guys are out on the track, you're not just appealing to the people in the stands now. Like it's finally getting that broader reach that it might make people like us that are 3.5, 4 hours away jump in the car and come down there for a weekend.
Oh, we hope you do. I mean,
we will.
Like seeing it in real life's the best thing, but I mean, watching it from the comfort of your own home is the next best thing.
Yeah. I've actually said to multiple people that I'd be willing to move and live right beside the racetrack because I would go every week. The entertainment level,
buy up the land around it, protect it.
Give me with my buckets of money, absolutely.
Yeah.
But one of the
both go.
Yeah, well, exactly. One of the things that I absolutely love about specifically the bone stock field is that the variety of competitors you have. Obviously, you've got people that have extensive racing resumes, like yourself and your brother coming into to race this series. And you have varieties of different cars, but they've actually interviewed a driver who doesn't have a crew. He's just by himself, and he comes and just wants to race. And I absolutely
living the dream.
Love that. You've got families like the Starretts that race every week, and you have, no matter what, there's always that crazy factor of, oh my God, there's 40 cars on this racetrack right now. And you guys have been lucky, really. I think we've been lucky because in some of the other tracks in Ontario, bone stocks are suffering. But I wonder, and I'm curious what you think this is there going to be a ripple effect, do you think, with seeing such a healthy count at Delaware Speedway? Could other racetracks start to see more of a count increase because people are saying, wow, that looks like fun. I want to do that at my racetrack.
Yeah. I mean, I think when one track does well and you have cars being built and bought and sold and stuff like that, it's only a matter of time before they make it to other tracks. Like, I know I've built a few cars that have gone and raced Flamborough. I've sold a couple cars that have gone to Sunset. Some of my cars have gone to Grand Bend. It's really good. I mean, I'm usually good to build a car or two every off season. And I think this year I've already built 2 or 3 through the season, which I never wanted to do, but, whatever puts the cars on track. So I think the more cars that get put together and out there, and the more teams that get involved and people that get interested in it, the more it's going to grow. It'd be nice to see all of the tracks get those car counts up. But I know like Flamborough had like 26 cars at their Memorial Night race, and we were planning on going up and didn't end up going, and I regret it because that's a huge field.
Yeah.
And I know watching some videos of Sunset, they had a really healthy field. I've gone up to Sauble, tried that combined 4 stuff for myself. Mm-hmm. It's a different animal when you take a bone stock car, but I mean, if you've got some extra goodies to throw at your car, it's definitely something worth trying. I haven't been able to travel as much as I want to go to some of I haven't been able to get to full throttle myself. I really want to race there just to check that one off the list. And then same thing with Peterborough. It's quite a haul, but if I could find somebody to pay for my gas, I'd probably go. Kind of tough to tow 3.5 hours the way gas has been all summer, but
yeah.
And that's maybe part of it as well. The fact that we've gotten 40 plus cars in a division where the gas has been this crazy this year. And hopefully the off season, it'll bring a little bit of relief into next year, because could you ever get to a point where, and I'm curious what you think. I mean, I've always had this belief that we shouldn't have DNQs. We should have, even if there's like an LCQ or at least a consi race, something so that even if you say didn't make the field, you still got to race. Do you believe that we'll get to a position where you're going to have too many cars for a feature?
No, no, straight up. The track has talked about it. They do have some rough plans.
Okay.
They had mentioned at one point in the year that if we were to hit that 50 car mark, you would see an A and a B feature. And that's the thing, is it's just good for everybody. If you get to that point. So that's kind of why I've been pushing extra hard for it, because I'd love to race against 49 other cars, but at the same time, if they split right down the middle and you had the 25 fastest guys in a race and you had the next 25 cars in their own race, I mean, it gives guys that are new, guys that maybe don't have these setups dialed in, don't have the seat time, you're still getting checker flags. You get the same exposure.
Hell yeah.
So everything that they're kind of doing to benefit the racers just kind of doubles when you get to that number of cars. So I think it's good.
We see it. I mean, bone stocks. I mean, if you go to CTMP for Victoria Fest, like the Nissan, well, it's a Sentra, but I mean, the micros are out there too. I mean, speed is all relative. I mean, when you put the other cars around you, it doesn't matter whether your average is 100 miles an hour or if it's 45 miles an hour. If you got a whole bunch of them around you and the racing's good, it doesn't matter. It's great entertainment. And if you could get to that point where you could have like 2 features, like, oh my God, that's like, business is good. I mean, and again, it's pick your poison, and I guess, and there's a lot of drivers that still hang out and party, but I mean, I know a lot of drivers that don't drink, do anything like that, because speed is their poison. And I mean, you're showing up to the track with like a dozen cars, so pick your poison, man. You're a racing junkie to the bone.
Yeah, no, I joked around with some guys in 2019 when I was racing the bone stock and the pro late model. And they said, how do you do it? What's that like? And I said, well, the bone stock's the exact same as the late model, just 4 seconds slower. It's a little different, but it's the same idea.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just like you just adapt your brain. Like, we've talked to so many people, like the Wally Wilsons of the world, and people who've driven so many different cars. We're like, how do you get into something that is like 4 seconds slower than something else you maybe just stepped out of? And it's all the same. You just strap in and
go,
adapt.
Really.
Yeah, and go.
It's all racing.
Yeah, it's all racing. Exactly. Just make that thing as fast as you can make it, right?
Yeah.
Well, and so let's get into kind of the tech side of things.
Yeah.
What do you have to do, and how do you qualify a car as, say, a bone stock? Because essentially these are cars off of the street, correct? And they're not being used, and you just have to take stuff out of it. Is there a type of car that you're not allowed to run? Obviously, I don't see anybody out there.
Radio stations you can't listen to.
Radio stations you can't listen to.
Yeah, no, all that stuff's pretty well fair game as far as what you listen to. But the cars, most tracks have kind of come together similar to what the late models and the super stocks and the mini stocks have all done. The bone stocks aren't unified per se, but a lot of the rules across Ontario have become very similar. So you can basically take any 4-cylinder front wheel drive gas car, no turbos, no diesels, and basically you strip the interiors out of them, the seats, the carpet, all that jazz, pull all the
comfort.
Yeah. Well, you're allowed to leave the dashes and stuff depending on the track you run. So I built an enduro car, and you're allowed to leave the dash, and part of the dash is the radio and the air conditioner. So I mean, they're still in there.
Yeah.
I haven't had to use them yet, but they're there. But yeah, no, I actually ran that Pot of Gold 300 with my radio cranked and a mix CD that I found, I think, in the stereo deck from the car that'd been sitting for 3 years. So it was interesting, but yeah, no, it was fun.
So do you have to do anything to like the doors? You have to, obviously the doors, the windows, everything's got to come out. Well,
yeah,
not
so
the doors, but
yeah, any of the plastics that, like, anything that might be flammable, anything that might break, get on the track, be an issue. A lot of that stuff's got to come out. You can run the stock exhaust, pretty much all the stock components. There's a few minor setup things you're allowed as far as cambering the tires, some tow. Like not a whole lot. The engines all stay stock, transmissions stay stock. All the suspension components are what you would buy from your corner CarQuest or Napa or Canadian Tire. Like there's nothing.
That's the likely one.
Yeah, there's nothing too
not from ours.
Too fancy. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have a title sponsor, Dad's Discount Auto Parts. So I mean, they give all the racers that are registered at Delaware a discount. So
nice.
We've been fortunate that they came on board with our team and got us some brake pads and oil filters and stuff like that to run the season.
Cool.
So theoretically, Chris, how expensive compared to say, so how expensive is a weekend? If you wanted to say, get a car, could you just pick one out from the scrap heap, essentially, strip what you need to strip off of it, get a cage in it, get a seat in it? How much more do you have to do to it before it gets legal or say is allowed on the racetrack?
Yeah. So the big one that I stress for anybody looking to get into it and looking to do it is get the safety gear first. Your driver's suit, your helmet, that sort of stuff. The helmets have a date on them, so kind of maybe buy that one last, but fire suits don't go bad. Once you've got that initial safety investment, the cars are easy. They're on about you're going to spend about as much on safety equipment as you will on the car. And then it just, yeah, that's so like I have about 1,500 to 2,000 into my safety gear, but that's a custom fire suit from Epic. That's my Hans, my brand new helmet. I got it painted up by a guy. So it's one of the nicest things I've had my whole racing career. But then just your boots, your gloves, that sort of thing. And then the cars, whatever you can get a car for. I tried to do a build documentary video and we got about 15 hours worth of footage, and I'm not a camera guy. So then I ended up smashing the rest of the car together in about 3 days. So we missed some of that, but we're going to try and maybe finish that, put that together so that guys can watch that and maybe build their own cars. But like the cages are a couple $100. You can find them as a kit. You can buy them used, pre-assembled out of an old car. And then it just depends on what else you want to upgrade. Some guys like to redo all the brake and fuel lines because what we are racing is like a 20-year-old economy car. They're not all that great. Some of them are pretty tough. Like they've been used as winter beaters for a couple of years, and the roads aren't always the nicest to them.
Yeah. I'd say that there's the percentage of sun fires out there is quite high. I mean, it sounds, I mean, really like you could get businesses like auto shops, if they wanted to put a car together, get a driver, high schools, like theoretically, like high schools, universities, this would be a really cool thing where you could have like
done that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like tech classes could literally put cars together and race them on the track. Like this is something that would be huge, I would think, for high schools and universities, students, and how cool to be able to do that.
Yeah, I would have went to the pool hall a lot less for sure.
there was about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe, the track did an initiative for that. It was called the High School Challenge. I ended up actually building a couple cars with Westminster Secondary. They actually still have the car that we put together. I'm working with the auto teacher. Hopefully, I might actually get out and drive that next season. For a couple races once we get it kind of all buttoned up, and it'll probably be a June thing and a September thing, so all the kids involved can come out and really enjoy all the work they've put into it. But I was fortunate enough to drive some of the Medway High School cars, which is where I went to school, and
cool.
Me and my brother actually do have wins in those cars, so
awesome.
It was, it's something else to be able to kind of not only do that with your friends and your shop teacher, but to go out to the track and see that side of things as well. You kind of see all your hard work go out there and bump doors and rub tires and
I don't know, man.
Racing.
I don't know, Graydon. You got one going to high school, so there we go.
Yeah, we got that. Yeah, my uncle's old G5 that they're bombing around at my parents' house, and it's a 5-speed manual too. So Owen's got the hang of letting the clutch out and everything now. And
I'll get them hooked up with somebody from McCall's or Bicknell's and get them a kit cage, and between the weld shop and the auto shop, you should have a race car in a couple months.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Chris, we're coming down for the Fall Brawl weekend, and I hope we can get down there in good enough time that we'll connect with you guys and hopefully get a tour of the bone stocks, have a peek inside one, and see what makes those babies go.
Yeah, I'm usually the guy that takes up a majority of turn 4. But yeah, you guys are more than welcome. Come down, take some pictures, sit in some cars.
Cool.
I don't know if we can get you out ripping around in them, but
that's
we'll see. Bring a suit.
You got 2023.
I
seen your suit, Graydon. I know you got the stuff.
Yeah, that's like you say, when you're talking about having the driver's gears half the battle. I mean, I'm hooked up there. So now that I'm going to racetracks more often, I tend to not forget my driver's gear just in case something crazy happens.
You never know.
You never know.
And let's talk about that just before we wrap up here, Chris, is the Fall Brawl. How awesome is it that you guys get to have your Bone Stock Championship night the same night with the Quick Super Stocks, the same weekend of the NASCAR Pinty Series, the Oscar Modifieds and Hot Rods, all wrapping up the APC Series, wrapping up their championships. It's got to be rewarding.
Big stage.
Be on the big stage like that, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm glad the way all the schedules have worked out and the way Delaware has done everything, that they get to feature the cream of the crop at the end of the season. So everybody kind of gets to duel it out. Unfortunately for me, you find out how small the racing community can sometimes be. So I'm going to be racing. I'm going to have a fleet of cars there. Chances are I'm going to be spotting for someone over the weekend. I know I'm going to be crewing for an APC car on the Saturday. So Sunday might be the time I get to kick back up in the beer tent and watch some racing.
You're not going to do King of the Hill?
I got my Cobalt. I'll take her out by all means. I have no luck in them. I haven't made it past the first round in any of the ones I've been in, but I'll do it.
Oh man. Chris, we could talk for hours, man. You've got the same mentality that we have. You want to see racing continue to succeed. I'm
like excited to go rip a bone stock around somewhere. I gotta go to my parents.
I told you, man.
Beat the hell out of that G5.
Chris is the guy, man. And you did full on tutorial with Joey on the Rogers broadcast, man. You basically showed people, hey, this is how you do it. And for somebody like myself, who has major anxiety about learning to drive, I actually felt comfortable listening to you teach Joey how to drive on the oval. And I almost feel like this bone stock would be actually a way to get over that anxiety, to be honest with you, because you're in a circle, the only thing that's going to hit you is a wall, not other drivers, right? If you're going out there practicing. So
got a 2-seater, Chris. You got to get Cam in the shotgun seat.
You got to make sure the car is big enough for me to get into it, though.
I got a car for you, Cam. So I want to tell you that's actually kind of how my driver development stuff started. The original driver development driver is Cassie Howard that drives the 59 car.
Yeah.
She started racing for me the year she got her license. And she went from being one of the most timid drivers in her driver's ed class to the driving instructor having to kind of slow her down. And the whole mentality that we had was go out, race this car. If you're going to bump and bang anything, do it on the racetrack where it doesn't cost your insurance any money and you can kind of get the feel for it. We go full circle. Next year, her little sister, Jessie, is going to be hopping behind the wheel for me, and she will actually be getting her license next year as well. So we're kind of going to get her accustomed to a full-size car, get her used to going through the gears, driving around, gas, brake, probably get that first accident out of her system before it costs her parents any money, and it should be good.
In all honesty, from a driving, like an educational standpoint, I mean, it's a race vehicle, but yeah, like it's not tens of thousands of dollars. No. Like you're getting education on the fly of driving, defensive driving. Like you start to skid out even in a front wheel drive, you're going to kind of learn like deceleration and just trying to gather stuff up. I mean, there's so many pluses. And I mean, yeah, to you too, Cam. I mean, like
I'd rather be on a racetrack with nobody on it.
You're not going to learn anything in bumper cars. You're going to learn something from something like this, right? Like
I might have to put a second set of pedals into one of the 2-seaters, and we'll do some real learning.
The driver's head brake. There you go.
Driver's head with Kris Lawrence.
Haven't had to use it too much, but it might be nice to have.
Yeah, never hurts.
There you go. And I mean, it's definitely a great thing that you are doing for keeping racing as big as important as possible, man. I mean, we had this conversation at Sunset Speedway, and I basically, when I got to hear, I first heard you on Race Rivals Race Chat, and I was like, well, we got to talk to this guy because he knows, he's got the same mentality that we do. That's why we're talking about racing in Canada, because it needs it, right? And it's the same thing why you're doing this program, because it needs it. And hopefully we get to a point, man, where racing is going to be even in a really healthy spot, because we don't have the most opportunities to go out and do it. Not a lot of places left. And, we do have a lot to battle against. But Chris, obviously you have some amazing partners in your rental program, in your racing program, that help you get to the racetrack each and every week. So I'm curious if, we like to have an opportunity for you to shout them out here and thank them.
I honestly, I appreciate that. There's, like I said, Dad's, Jesse Kennedy, a lot of my sponsors. I really want to say that they're not just businesses. They're local families, local racers, just people that love the sport. Quarries Tire and Auto, was a former late model racer. His son races now, Will Corey. I've got Landscape. He's another racer. He sponsors me. Auto Fusion Towing. Noel and his family have been involved with racing. He's the Delaware tow truck company. Wilds Printing. I know most people have seen Cody Wilds stuff. God, there's so many. Home Hardware just joined us last week to jump on board as a sponsor for the rest of the season. So, and there's so many people. McCall Racing, you guys at Stickers and Scuffs, all the people that do anything for our sport. Short Track Musing, Jomo Media Productions.
Jomo, our boy. Love that guy.
Anybody that helps to really spread the word on racing and help pump us up, I thank you. I mean, I got KPH Photography, Kaniski Manufacturing, Pete's Restoration and Repair. I know I'm missing people. There's so many people that it's not all money. They give us parts. They give us fuel money. They give us fuel. They tow race cars for me. I couldn't do this program if it wasn't for the great people in the racing community, whether they've been here for a short time or whether they've been around longer than I have. So, and all I can say is if you go to a race and you see a car that you like and you see names on that car, the best thing you can do for the sport, go to those businesses, tell them that you saw them on a race car. You're doing every driver a favor. They'll treat you just as well as they treat us racers. That's really all I can recommend. Like, those big box stores don't all sponsor us, so go to those family businesses, your local guys. They're the ones that are really going to appreciate your business the way we appreciate their business.
That's well said, man.
That should be on a shirt, man. Holy moly.
Be a long
front
shirt,
and back. Yeah,
pretty good, man. Pretty damn good. Kris Lawrence, thank you so much for joining us on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. We'll catch you all next week.